Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on Wednesday, May 26. Welcome, everybody. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to chambers. Please remember to silence or turn all cell phones off. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by City Council, and we serve voluntarily. It is this board's intentions to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain codes within the city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts, first the violation and then affirmative relief. Former rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes and the board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chambers. Now I will ask all of those who plan to speak today to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk. Thank you. First item on the agenda, agenda item 2, approval of minutes. Board?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I got a first and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Motion carries.
I'm sorry, Chair, was that for both sets? There's 2 sets of minutes for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. That is for both sets as of now. Agenda item 3, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Is there anyone to speak today on items not on the agenda? Very well, moving on. Agenda item 4, new business items. Item 4.1, ID number 21-9260, continued from January 27th, February 4th, and April 28th. Case number 0521, find respondents Antonio De La Cruz, Greg De La Cruz, and Norianne De La Cruz at 900 South Highland Avenue in violation of code for permitted uses, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. How are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon.
Good.
I'm well.
Will you please state your name for the record?
William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. I'm going to defer to the city attorney on this matter. I understand that we received the interpretation letter from Development Services this morning. It was produced. I haven't reviewed it. I'm not aware that council has either.
So we were aware of that. We have not reviewed it either, but we had previously discussed continuing this matter until June.
Just for the simple matter of reviewing that and seeing what the document says.
City's good with it and council's good with it.
Yeah, we're fine.
Board's not going to have a problem. Do you want a motion regarding that, moving it? Okay, please, board.
I'll make a motion that we continue this item till June 2021.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And that was, I'm sorry, continue to the June meeting?
June
Yes.
meeting.
Okay, thank you.
What is that date?
June 23rd.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, agenda item 4.5, case 52-21, find respondents Tony Burgos at 1487 Drew Street in violation of code for residential rental business tax receipt and short-term rental, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak to that case? Okay, board, if we could have a first.
Chair, this property is currently in compliance. I'll be requesting a declaration of violation.
You again, huh? Very nice, board, if we could have a...
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second it.
Motion is made, seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 4.7, case 54-21, find respondents Edward Adley at 1261 Cleveland Street in violation of code for prohibited signage and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anybody to speak to this case today? How are you?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Celeste Ferry for Edward Abley.
Did you get that? We'll give her 1 second, make sure.
Of course.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Did you get her name for the record?
No, I sure didn't. What case are we on?
We are on case 54-21,
4.7.
4.7.
Did we skip a couple of cases?
Continued.
They're all, everything on our agenda says continued.
I'm sorry, 4.3?
That's okay.
Oh, 4.3 doesn't say it.
Oh, we got one here.
So 4.3, we're gonna have to go back.
We'll come back to that.
Okay, thank you. So 4.7, no, I'm sorry, your name?
Lisa Westbury.
Thank
No,
you.
it's 4.5.
And what's your relation to Edward Adley?
I am the attorney for Mr. Adley.
Okay. And how, do you admit to the violation?
There is a discontinued sign. We're going to be working with planning and zoning to see if we can have something that comes into compliance. I've spoken with the assistant city attorney as well as the sign inspector, Knight, in regards to that. We would request a continuance to see where we're at in about 30 days. I believe they were looking for 60 days to come into compliance, though.
Okay, perfect. If you don't mind taking one of these front seats,
Absolutely.
we'll have Mr. Knight come up and chat with us.
The board, Daniel Knight, sign inspector for the city of Clearwater. If you don't mind, I'd like to refer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't have the first on that one.
Board, the discussion that was had was that we would go ahead today and present the case to the board and hopefully go for a violation, but we would extend, or we would support time to come into compliance. And I think the intent was for them to go in and get the permit or get a different use, right? Yeah, so the city would prefer to go forward and present the case.
Present and then give them time.
So it's not a continuance, it's more, we're supporting more time for them to come into compliance before the
Yeah.
fines kick in.
Okay. Counsel, does that make sense? Do you want to step back forward?
It does. I just want to make sure if we're in the middle of trying to come into compliance, that we don't become fined while we're trying to come into compliance. So I think in 30 days, we would know what we need to do if it's even an option, and we could go forward from there.
Okay, and is the city recommending 30 days or 60 days to give them extra time on that back end?
So 60 days on the back end.
Okay, so they're giving you 30 additional days on top of what you expected for that process. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I just want to make sure if we're in the middle of coming into compliance that we don't begin being fined in the middle of it. So we just want to make sure we have recourse. If so, and we have been in contact and, they gave me some great ideas. I just want to make sure we don't get stuck where we're coming up on the deadline and begin being fined,
Right,
but we're in the middle of coming into compliance.
which makes sense. Can we grant her a better understanding of how that process works?
I can just tell the board that this matter has been going on for about 1.5 years, and so that's why we're in the position we are today, where we'd like to just go forward and have it declared in violation. I feel like Mr. Knight has been very lenient, trying to work with the owner at
Okay.
this point, but at some point we have to move forward, and that's why we're willing to do the 60 days on the back end.
Okay, makes sense.
One option
Perfect.
we
We
do.
just have a seat here. Mr. Knight would come back up. So I think what board will probably need a first to move forward because we're admitting there is an issue and we're going to give it the back end some extra time.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Motion and made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Knight.
All right, Daniel Knight, sign inspector with the city. This is 1261 Cleveland Street, case 45-21, prohibited signage, discontinued sign. The city is asking compliance on or before July 26th of 2021, which is 60 days, or a fine of $150 per day that the violation continues to exist. We are asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city's attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. Compliance can be met for the prohibited signage, discontinued sign, by removing the discontinued sign from the property or by seeking and obtaining approval to allow the sign to remain erected at the property. And these are just some photos. This is on Cleveland Street, just east of like Nature's Food Patch on the south side of Cleveland. The sign in question is the freestanding sign located on the right side of the photo. This was on 4/8 of 2021. This original photo was taken on October 7th of 2019. Soon after that date, the first notice of violation was sent out. And then again on 5/20/21, no changes have been made.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Is there currently a business operating in there, Daniel? Did I miss that?
No, sir. As far as I know, there hasn't been use at the property for years.
You're just asking them to take the sign down.
Right. Discontinued sign, if a sign has gone blank or is advertising for a business that is no longer operating there or a service that is no longer being provided at the property, it becomes discontinued after a 180-day period. So after that 180 days, it becomes discontinued if there's a nonconformity to the sign. So like it's erected at 12 foot and it can only be 6 foot tall, that's a nonconforming use. They would have 3 months from the day that they either accept or deny the certified mail receipt to bring the sign into conformity with today's standards. Unfortunately, with where it stands, it most likely could not be brought into compliance to meet today's standards. But like Lisa had spoke to, we granting them time to speak to zoning, see if there's some other avenue that they can go down.
Any additional questions from the board? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Was the sign ever in compliance?
Well, the sign at one point, I believe it was sometime in 2014, there was a business of Direct, and they were advertising for their business, and then after that period, as far back as I can go on Google Maps, the sign has remained in a blank state. So technically, after 180 days of when the sign went blank, it became discontinued.
So what is unacceptable is that it is blank? Or is there anything else that makes it,
What gives it its non-conforming use? The size of the sign can't be any, in the downtown district, can't be any greater than 6 foot in height. It has to be at least 5 foot back from the setbacks. There has to be some type of vegetation, flower around the base of the sign. And the square footage of the sign, I believe, can't be greater than 24 square feet.
there's several things, so it has to.
Yeah.
Okay.
How far back is it now? How far back is it?
I did not measure it, but it is right up, you know, let's get up a photo.
To the sidewalk.
Adjacent to the sidewalk?
Yes, it's pretty close to the,
So you measure to the foundation of the sign and not the post? How's that anyway?
the structure itself, so the entire structure has to meet that setback guideline. So it has to be 5 feet away from all property lines from where the structure starts and goes upward.
Additional questions? Board?
I moved to.
Board? Okay. Daniel, do you have anything else for us, Mr. Knight, or?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll have council step back up and make sure we're all in understanding. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so have you been given all that information before, I would assume?
Not the specifics in regards of the 6 foot height, the 5 feet back, vegetation by the base, but now I know that.
Yeah, all very important to find out, because we would hate to see you waste time and money trying to put it into compliance, not knowing what makes it compliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my client did, prior to my involvement, he did try to have the sign removed, but the cost was prohibitive for him. It was over $4,000 to remove the sign, and he's in the stages of finalizing everything to open the business. So of course he'll want a sign, so he doesn't want to pay $4,000 to
Right.
remove a sign, only to have to go invest in putting another sign that is in compliance.
Understandable.
The sign has been there since the 50s when the building was born, and he inherited it when he bought the building in 2016, 2017, and he was never notified there were any issues at the time he bought it, even though the sign had been blank for 2-3 years prior.
Right. Okay, I understand. Is there any questions for council from the board? Yeah, I think what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll make the motion. I think the city's hopefully being lenient in your eyes and giving you that extra 30 days, so 60 days to get the process rolling and hopefully
Absolutely.
bring it into compliance. But we thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before July 26. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Knight. We're going to jump back, and I apologize, that was not your fault. Agenda item 4.3, case 50-21, fine respondents Moshe Weisenblum at 2886 Green Meadow Court in violation of code for short-term rental and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met.
And again, this property is also in compliance. I'll be requesting a declaration of violation, please.
Thank you. Declaration.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Thank you. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. And motion carries. Thank you. Moving back forward, agenda item 4.8, case 55-21, fine respondents Havel LLC at 22996 US 19 in violation of code for signage without permits and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anybody here to speak to this case? Mr. Knight, we're at 55-21. Is there anybody here to speak to that case that you know of?
No, and the city is seeking a declaration of violation for this case. I apologize for my absence.
No, you're okay. Thank you.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second it.
A motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 4.9, case 56-21, fine respondents Kim Necht Holdings LLC at 536 Phoenix Ave in violation of code for fences and walls, exterior surfaces, abandoned building, and door and window openings, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Mr. Kasman, is there anyone here to speak to this case today?
I don't see
Not
anybody
looking-
here.
Okay, board, if we could have it first.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
A motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Kasman.
All right, just want to hear recommendations then. Let's get this thing moving along.
Does anyone have a preference? Do you want to see the case or the recommendations?
You can go to
You had a kind of a long list here. I'm wondering, with an abandoned building, right, is this being handled as normal and not as an unsafe building as of now?
An abandoned building can mean a property that is an attractive nuisance as well as having just other code violations of the property other than just not having had the utilities turned on for 6 months at a time. In this case, a few neighbors in the neighborhood have brought it to my attention. A few have expressed interest in wanting to buy the home. They can't get in contact with the owner. The front window has a giant hole in it. The entire inside of the structure has been stripped out, looking like somebody was going to attempt to work on the structure and then just stopped. So I figured I'd bring it forward, and that's another issue, just having violations, not having had the water turned on, somebody trying to start a project and just looking literally like abandoning the project right in the middle of it.
Makes sense. Okay. And council, how would this be handled if we were to say, well, this building is unsafe versus us just handling it as we are? Would it go in a different avenue or be resolved quicker?
Well, the building official does have different powers on the unsafe structure code, so, yeah, it's a completely different process. This way, we're going through, fines and liens, but the building official does have different authorities and different deadlines that he can impose and
Okay.
require that repairs be made.
Okay, so we're not deeming it as unsafe,
Correct, since it's this inspector.
Yeah.
I did bring it to attention of the building division that looks like work had been done on there. I believe a stop work order was open for the property, just from the work that looked like it had been done in the interior. All the drywall had been ripped off and the structure was kind of bare bones.
okay.
Was there a permit filed?
There was no permit, and then I believe they opened up a stop work order case on the structure. But I got the green card back from the owner, but I've had no calls from them and no contact from them whatsoever.
Okay. Well, Board, if you're good with his just giving recommendations, I'm fine with it as well, if anyone has any objection.
I'm okay with recommendation.
Okay. Daniel Casman for 536 Phoenix Avenue, case number 5621. I have 4 violations here, one for doors and windows, exterior surfaces, abandoned building, and fence maintenance. I'm requesting compliance on or before June 26th of 2021, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. While asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
Thank you.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 26, 2021. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation. For each day each violation continues to exist, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Looks like we keep you again, Mr. Cadman.
Yeah, I just noticed them.
Case 4.12, find respondents Ilda Sinjari at 1424 Cleveland Street in violation of code for residential rental business tax receipt, and issue an order, the compliance deadline, and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak to that case today? Okay, board, if we can have a first.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Yes, sir.
Daniel Casman, Code Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for 1424 Cleveland Street, case number 59-21. There's one violation here, is a lack of residential rental business tax receipt. I'm requesting compliance on or before June 26th of 2021, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. I'm asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city's attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
Have you had any response from the owner?
I haven't had a response. They did apply for their business tax receipt. In all honesty, very recently, they just have to pay it. They still haven't paid it yet. They bought the home from another renter, have bought the home from the previous owner, which was a rental, kept the same renter, I believe, and just need to get a business tax receipt if they're going to be continuing to use the property in the same way. I did get the green card and they did apply. They just got to pay for it, so they've got 30 days to pay for it.
$34.
Well, they actually got assessed $15.75 because it was halfway through the year.
$15.75.
Yes.
Okay. And just
Makes it work.
making sure, that's a little different. I'd be a little slower with the incentive as well on that side. Okay, so $15, and they've already applied for it, just haven't gotten online and fulfilled the payment.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And we've attempted to notify them that, congratulations, you did half the process, you just need to pay.
They've obviously had contact with our business tax receipt representatives, and I had the green card back from them. They just have not tried to contact me.
All right. Looks like we're giving them a little time to figure this out and make the payment.
In that case, I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 26. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Casman. Agenda item 4.13, case 60-21, find respondents Florida First Properties, Inc., Fair Land Trust, 1468 at 1468 Cleveland Street in violation of code for business tax receipt required, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. How are you, sir?
I'm good, how you doing?
Wonderful, thank you. Would you please state your name for the record?
John Linehan, Linehan.
Okay, Mr. Lillian, do you admit to the violation?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I own the property. We rent it to a person that runs a sober house or a house for recovering alcoholics. So I paid the business rental tax receipt, but what Mr. Casman is asking for, I think, is the business needs to be licensed.
Okay.
I have nothing to do with the business. I can't license the business. I can't register the business.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay,
So
so-
let's see if we can get a clearer understanding for you. Let's steal one of those seats right there in the front, and we'll try to get a better understanding for you. Thanks for coming in today.
All right. Hello, board.
So we'll hold off on making any motion on that without a,
I'm going to present the case and just show you what's happening here. Daniel Casman, Code Inspector for City of Clearwater. This is for 1468 Cleveland Street, case number 60-21. There's one violation here for Code Section 29.301 for a business tax receipt required. Notice of violation was sent on February 17th of 2021 with compliance date of March 17th, 2021, and the certified mail receipt was received on March 2nd of 2021. So this is the property, 1468 Cleveland Street. No real issues with this property. I've never had really any complaints. I was contacted by Nick Esposito, one of the fire inspectors, who told me that a halfway house, or sober home as they're called, is operating at the property. I walked over to the property, spoke to a few gentlemen who were on the front porch. One of them was named Chris. He told me that he was the manager of the property manager, but also a tenant, and I guess also sort of a patient, I guess if you call, of the property. And he gave me the number to a person named Pamela Dixon, who was the proprietor of the business of what was going on there. And he gave me the name of the business too, which is called A New Direction for Women and Men, which operates in St. Pete mostly, but I guess has a few locations now here in Clearwater. So I checked the utilities and saw that, yeah, it says A New Direction for Women and Men is on the utilities for the property. I managed to call Pamela. I told her about what was going on. I said, you have to have a business tax receipt if you're going to be operating any sort of business in Clearwater. But another issue you may run into is that you can only run a sober home in an institutionally zoned district. You may not be able to run it here in the downtown zone district. She said she would look into it. I gave her the number of the business tax receipt representative. And after that conversation, I've tried to call her several times, and she does not take my phone calls anymore. I checked out the website online, A New Direction for Women and Men, a safe, confidential residence for drug and alcohol recovery, St. Petersburg, Florida. That's one of the numbers you can call to either get signed up or get more information. They have links about alcoholism, about substance abuse. That was on March 2nd. This is their Google page, A New Direction for Women and Men. They're located currently in 2365 5th Avenue North Street in St. Petersburg. There's some reviews on there. I checked property appraiser at that address. The owner of that property is Above Excellent Care LLC. And then I went on Sunbiz to see who was running that, and one of the names that comes up is Pamela Dixon. So it's part of her company, or she's an employee of the company running this care rehabilitative services place. I checked back on April 6th. Check some of the notes per Pam Dixon, some of the water customer service reps, just to have proof that this is the same person operating this business at this location. They don't have a current business tax receipt for running a sober home at the location or a halfway house. This was on April 6th in our Acela program. I went back on the page. They've updated a little bit on April 6th. Miss Pamela Dixon is highlighted at the bottom right of the screen, 2365 5th Avenue North, the same address that comes up on Google, A New Direction for Women and Men. Checked out the utilities again. They still have active utilities at the location as of April 6th. Went back on the 17th of May. Their Google page is still active. Their utilities are still active. Their website's still active. The owner did get a business tax receipt for rental, for residential rental, which is great. It's just that any tenants running any businesses out of location, any business would have to be approved through zoning, and then they'd have to apply for a business tax receipt. It's just, in this case, this one might not be allowed no matter what. So, again, 17th, still in their name, just showing the water usage, kind of high, 11, 10, 13 cons, kind of a high water bill. 25th, still they have not applied, the sober home has not applied for a business tax receipt. The owner's business tax receipt is currently active. 25th, they're still active as of yesterday in the utilities as well. And here's their web page. It got updated a little bit more with all the information, so.
Interesting.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Cuddy, yeah, hold on one second. Yes, ma'am.
I just to clarify, what we are looking at fining the owner of the sober home, not the owner of the property.
The owner of the property, if you have a strip mall store, if you have a home, and any of your tenants operate a business out of the property, your tenants have to have a business tax receipt.
So it's his responsibility?
It's his responsibility to make sure all tenants running any sort of businesses on his property have a business tax receipt.
So
Which
his
if
only
they're-
option is to evict them if they're not willing?
Could be a possible correction if that's the avenue they want to take.
By them not meeting the requirements, they could be in violation of the lease they have with the owner.
That would be a matter between the tenant and the
Yeah.
owner. If you're going to run a business, you have to have a business tax receipt. It doesn't matter if it's in a home, in a strip mall, any sort of location in Clearwater. If you're going to be creating an income business, you have to have a business tax receipt.
We run into these quite often, obviously, in just in a different suit, and sometimes it's a short-term rental, sometimes it's, garbage in a carport, right, and it's not the owner of the property, it's a tenant living in there. The owner of the property isn't even allowed on the property to fix a mistake, but yet he can't get them to move. At the end of the day, it comes down to the responsibility of the owner of the property, and that's when those discussions happen of eviction and contracts, and is this contractual illegal or not? And these are some of the harder cases that we see in here, because we don't want to shame our finger and say bad, 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 right? Because you're trying to do everything as that property owner you can, but your hands are kind of tied when they're not complying with what your needs are, right? So these are tough for us, but we'll do what we can to try to get you compliant. Does anyone else have questions? Yeah.
Yeah, the core violation, however, is zoning, correct?
It could be viewed that way, and if anyone else in here wants to speak to that, I invite they want to come up.
Hint, hint.
You needed a nudge.
Before she gets here,
As she's
do
traveling.
we know what is it zoned? What's the zoning now? Is it residential?
Good afternoon, Lauren Matsky, Planning and Development Assistant Director. So, can I use the camera?
Other side.
Oh, are we using the Elmo now?
No, okay,
Well, I'm so used to this one now.
perfect.
So, the subject property is there just above where it says Cleveland Street, and that entire kind of reddish brown area is zoned downtown. So this is all part of the downtown. And that's what, as Mr. Kasman said, it's zoned downtown, and that's really consistent with the area to the north, south, east, and west of it as well. So in terms of other avenues, could they request a rezoning or change to their designations? It would not be supported. It would be a spot zoning in that instance. So the Community Development Code is, as y'all know, what establishes the various uses that are allowed on different properties. In the downtown, though, there's an additional layer of regulation. And that's really based on location. So those changes were put into effect in August of 2018 when the new downtown zoning district and development standards were adopted. Properties along this block all share very similar characteristics. Primarily, they're one or two-family residential, larger front setbacks, and so the code regulates more in line with establishing that properties along this block are appropriate for residential development and redevelopment. It requires detached dwellings or a two-family, like a duplex, only. So they're further restricted in terms of the form of development that can go in there. As it relates to the operational characteristics, there's numerous different definitions, and it is our perspective that based on the information provided online related to that, that it does not meet the definition of either a detached dwelling or, in that regard, a community residential home, which would be allowed in the area.
And
I've not spoken with them, however, to have any detailed conversation regarding their operations.
is spot zoning exactly what it is? There are some spots here and there where it may be granted to have such a business in a place that most can't? Is that what spot zoning is?
Spot zoning would be changing the property's entitlements, changing their designations in one location, a single parcel.
In that single place?
Right, so the types of facilities that we think that this is operating as, generally called a sober home by the code inspector, those are allowed in our institutional zoning district. So there are many areas around the city that have that, but it is not the same as the downtown zoning district.
Are the institutional zone districts adjacent or contiguous with the residential zoning,
They can be.
more so than like a business district?
Sometimes they're larger in areas and sometimes they're smaller areas. On this map, you'll see, surrounding on the zoning map, you'll see surrounding this area, it's the downtown district, north, south, east, and west. Further to the east that's where it transitions into the Skycrest neighborhood, so that's primarily low, medium density residential zoning. Similarly, the use as I believe it is operating is not allowed in that district either. And then, of course, Crest Lake Park is the green area, open space recreation.
So if someone wanted to put in a sober house, they would look for some area that they might be able to get rezoned or that is currently zoned institutional.
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
And then if they would go to, say, a lot that's zone residential, they would have to, again, go through the hearing process and have public hearings and that sort of thing, where the residential area people could come out and say what.
That would be for any applicant requesting to change the zoning for any reason. But, to this point, yes, if there was a request to change the property from a zoning district to the institutional district, it is a multiple public hearing process.
So Pam Dixon should have really came to you or someone and said, this is what we're gonna buy that lot, we're gonna turn it into a sober house, and ask for their approval and set up some sort of process.
We do prefer that people work with us when they're in their due diligence phase, so we can explain what any, potential limitations might be to a property as they're exploring, or, that also gives us the opportunity to explain this property, because it's in the downtown district it's not allowed, but these are the zoning districts that you're looking for, and we can help explain that to them.
You said there was a change in 2018. Would this type of business or usage have been approved then? Is it something that would have been grandfathered in, or would that never have been allowed in that area?
I do not recall what the specifics were for this particular property in 2018. Prior to 2018. In doing some of my research, just looking at, the general information that had been provided early on, Facebook posts for this particular business announced that they were opening in around 2020.
Any additional questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kasman, do you want to come up and finish and give us a recommendation, or?
We have to do a first motion first?
Yeah.
That's fine, if you,
I just want to go through a couple of things.
yeah, absolutely.
So, to clarify, I have nothing to do with the business, right?
Mhm.
We're not part of New Direction.
You're not Pamela Dixon?
No, wait till you meet Pam. The The question that we have, that I have as a landlord, we rent a couple of houses to her and some other people, mostly in St. Pete. Technically, when they come and want to rent my house, I can't ask them what they're doing because they're handicapped individuals according to the ADA and fair housing. They're actually handicapped individuals. I can't discriminate against handicapped individuals. Handicapped individuals are entitled to live in residential areas without question. I mean, what I know, what my lawyers have said, that's where we are. So when we rent to her, it's not up to me to ask her to go do what she does. Now, she has legal stuff, she deals with the whatever, licensing and stuff. But my question is, and they were saying, this, the house that's there, as far as our concern, and our attorneys have said, if it's a residential house, they can have a home there. There's no, the cities can't enforce they can't enforce a higher standard because they're getting sober. Now, I'm not an attorney, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
When they say,
right.
what did we do? That's what we do. When somebody comes, we don't ask them what they're doing it for. As far as we actually would get more rent as a single-family house. The rent is lower and substantially lower. So I guess that's number one. Number two is, I want to just point out for the board for future consideration, as he said, never had a complaint at the house. We've never had a complaint at any of her houses. And so what's the, it's real simple. What's the issue? Is the issue, I'm being told immediately, she's not allowed in that area. Well, then we go down the other road,
Right.
Can you actually exclude her
Well,
from
I
that
think
area?
the issue is that it's a business. So I think from your perspective, sure, you can't discriminate against somebody if they want to rent your house, whatever.
Right.
But asking the valid question, is somebody going to run a business out of your property? You absolutely can ask that question.
Yes, and that's, I can ask them that question, but I can't say no because of what they're doing.
Right, you
I
can't
can- And I do
discriminate
ask, I
them.
know what she's doing.
Yeah, but as far as zoning goes, you can, if they're in violation of the zoning and they're running a business and that's in violation, then yes, you have every right to know that, and now they're violating of their agreement with you.
Yes, and that's where we are, and if they won't grant her a license
Okay,
to
Okay,
live
just
there,
wanted to be
I'm gonna
clear.
have to deal with
right.
what goes on there, I mean.
Right.
But the bigger issue is probably more for attorneys and stuff
Sure.
is, can you actually exclude sober living from a residential neighborhood? And everything I've read on what they say is.
I would
it's
say
a
no,
challenge.
but my stance is on it's a business. If it's a business,
A
that's
bus-
what
I mean-
changes it.
Well, yeah, I get it, and that's the point, it's a business, but you're treating, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not part of it,
No,
I just
I
wanted to
get
bring
it.
my
No, I
opinion
No,
forward.
it makes sense,
And
and
the
thank
fact
you.
that there's no complaints, I think speaks volumes if it's being run well. It just comes
Yeah.
down to the business.
Yeah, we like it very well, and well, I don't know, we talked to Daniel, and I'll let you go forward, is, what I think we need as landlords is, if we can get a little time, I will get Pam to go down and apply for the license. She has to go and apply for the license. When we get to refusal, she can decide what to do. That's kind of out of my hands because I'm gonna have to abide by what the council says, but we have to get a refusal in writing so I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
No.
If anybody gets in trouble, it's you guys. So, if that's all we're asking for, give me a 30-day
Yeah.
extension. I'll have Pam apply for the license. I don't know if 30 days is enough time to review the license and refuse it or approve it. I don't know what their schedule is.
Okay. Staff, do you have any comments? Or?
Yes, so actually, after talking to Ms. Madsky, the city would like to continue this for 30 days. So that we can work with the owner and see if we can work with the tenant. And I would prefer that the board didn't take any action at this time.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
Thank you, sir. So board, if we'll have a,
Motion to continue.
probably, need a first and second and redo that, yeah.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't, we skipped that.
So motion to continue until our next meeting, I think it's June 23rd.
Is that the date? Yeah, correct.
Second, anybody?
I said,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone want that? We're just going to make a motion to continue this case.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. And it was seconded?
Yes, I did.
Motion was made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. It's the
It's the
partitions.
layers of partitions.
Yes. One day. Moving on, 4.14, case 61-21, find respondents MNSF II, WI LLC at 1473 Cleveland Street in violation of code for residential grass parking, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met.
This property is currently in compliance. I got speaking with the owner about it. Every time they get a new tenant, the new tenant parks their cars all over the yard. We have an understanding now, everybody knows how to park, that they've been doing it right for the past month, so.
Thank you
this
for
is a
teaching
declaration.
classes.
I'm requesting a declaration of violation.
Much
I
appreciated.
move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second.
I heard that. Motion was made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Looks like we keep you, Mr. Casman. Agenda item 4.17, case 6421, find respondents Douglas E. Fisher at 10 North Aurora Avenue in violation of code for inoperative vehicle, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met.
Looks like he's not here today.
He is not here, and this is not a declaration.
No.
Okay, so
Apparently,
board, if we could have a first.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Yes, sir.
Daniel Casman, Code Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for 10 North Aurora Avenue. Case number 64-21. There's one violation here for an operative vehicle. I'm requesting compliance on or before May 31st of 2021, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violation continues to exist. We're asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. I don't know if you guys remember this property at all, having a few issues here.
Maybe you can
If
refresh
you'd like
it.
to see.
In
What
May
picture?
30,
Pictures.
Well,
May 31st is the,
it's 5 days from now.
okay, just want to make sure.
The vehicle's originally posted on,
Yep.
Case.
Yes,
Okay.
I remember.
so, 10 North Aurora Avenue.
The parking cone's gone. I
Mr.
don't see that
yeah,
anymore.
Mr. Fisher is running a car repair business out of his home. This is one of the cars he has. It's a gray Honda sedan. It's been sitting there for the past 6 months, one of his oldies. Posted the property on February 23rd. Doesn't have a license plate on the vehicle. Went back on the 22nd after the compliance date. Still doesn't have a license on the vehicle. March 22nd. On the 12th, the vehicle's still there, and it still doesn't have a license plate. And this.
You're good.
So,
Thank you, board.
still doesn't have a license plate. So,
Ready?
Yes.
Enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 31st. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day. For each day each violation continues to exist, if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. He's racking up the fines on that property, huh?
he certainly is.
We've given him ample opportunity.
Yes. Item 4.19, case 77-21, find respondents Marjorie Connolly, Kevin Kincaid, and Marius Lineweber at 151 Devon Drive in violation of code for permits, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak to this case? Yes, sir. Could you please step forward? Thank you for coming in. If you would please state your full name for the record.
My name's Kevin Kincaid.
Okay, Kevin, and do you admit to the violations that we're discussing today?
I need a little clarity on fully understanding it.
Okay, no problem. That's just how the process usually works. So what we'll do is we'll get you some clarity. If you'll just have a seat there, we'll have Mr. Swinton give you a presentation and get you a better understanding. But thank you for coming in, Kevin.
Well, good afternoon, Board. This is going to be address 151 Devon Drive. I'm the House Inspector Sam Swinton, for the City of Clearwater. This is case 7721. This is one violation of the Community Development Code, Section 4-203.A.1, and it's also Section 47.083, Section 2. I sent out my notice of violation on March the 29th of 21. Certified mail was received on April 3rd of 21. I also sent out a notice of hearing on that same date, March 29th, 21, and also received that receipt back on April 3rd of 21. This case is kind of an oldie. We've been here before. As you can see, the blue marker there is a wall at its state. This is a Google map picture that was taken back in 2017, 2016, I believe. As you can see, this is another view of it's on the east side of the property at the state at that time. Also another picture on that east side wall. And 2017, June, he extended the wall, made it higher, and did not get a permit to do so. This is more pictures of that wall there on the east side of the property in 2017. He also, in addition to the wall, he added stairs, and he also added the slab, as you can see, the arrow there. 2018, this remains same condition. Same picture. As of yesterday, the property, the wall has been sized down and recapped. And this is a picture of as of yesterday, and I can explain that in a minute here. And this is a view from the front of the home on the east side of the property. So, explanation on what happened. We brought this case before the code board, and at that time, the code board found it in violation. Mr. Kincaid was the president at that board meeting, and a permit was issued for the work that was done. However, that permit has since expired, and that is why we are here today, because of an expired permit.
Gotcha. So for clarification, the original wall was fine.
No.
The builder went and made that original wall higher, and that's where we got in problems, or the original wall was the
Right.
original problem?
The original wall was the problem. It was
There's
done
no
without
permit.
work, without a permit.
Gotcha. So multiple times. The original wall was built without a permit, and then a permit was pulled, then it expired, then we did more work to the wall without a permit, and that's why we're here today.
That is correct.
Okay, gotcha. Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Swinton?
I don't get this. So, did you say he raised the wall and then he lowered the wall?
Right. Mr. Kincaid, the wall at one point was kind of deteriorating. He took that entire wall down and rebuilt it up to the new state prior to getting a permit for it.
Okay,
So that's what brought it to the code board the first time.
right. At that time, did he add the slab behind it and the steps to lead to that slab?
Prior to raising it,
Pardon?
prior to raising the wall,
No, did he, when he raised the wall, did he pour the slab and the steps?
Those were also a part of that project also.
Okay, and then somebody complained and he decided, well, I'll just now lower the wall so he could meet whatever complaint was out there. Is that true?
Right, I believe at the last school board, what his understanding was, and I'll let him speak to that, is that if he brought the wall down to the 6-foot height, that would bring it in compliance. He did submit for the permit. Permit was issued, but no inspections were ever done to verify if the work was done correctly or would have passed.
Is the wall on the property line?
I'm sorry?
Is the wall on the property line?
Yes.
And so that debris that we saw in one of your pictures showed debris that's kind of slumped into the neighbor's yard, correct?
Well, since this property, the home next to his, on the east side of his, that home in 2017 and 2018 is no longer there. They're building a new home. So it's new construction that is leaning up against the wall from that construction site.
Oh, so the neighbor tossed that stuff up
Right,
against the wall.
That's from their construction site.
Have they been complaining about this?
No, I haven't had any complaints from the neighbor.
And the wall's being built to kind of shelter looks like the pool equipment. Is that true?
I believe it was all there prior and some scrubs on the adjacent property. Like I said, he wanted to raise the wall and of course fix it at the same time, but obviously didn't get a permit to do so.
Right.
I was on the board then, and I remember this, and the board's action was, their response was, boy, he did a wonderful job, and he really fixed it up, and you did do a wonderful job, and you put a lot of concrete into that, and it's just unfortunate that we didn't go through the correct steps that the city is asking. So I guess what we have to come to is, how can we get to a resolution of this? Because that's a lot of concrete. To say tear all that out is probably unreasonable over a permit, but so to give him an answer, he needs to reapply for the permit that expired.
He can have that permit reinstated.
Correct.
Get all the required inspections and make sure they're all passed. And then that permit will be completed and we'll be done.
Okay, and I'm sure this was communicated before you came in here today, correct?
I haven't spoken to
Gotcha.
Mr. Kincaid.
Okay, makes sense.
The second time around.
Understandable. Board, do you have any questions?
Did you said there was no inspection made, correct?
No, sir.
And does the property owner request an inspection, or is it up to?
He pulled the permit as the owner, build a permit.
So when he's finished, he calls the city and says, I need an inspection.
In this case, he should have called to end an inspection for a final.
Right,
inspection.
and he never did.
No inspections were ever done.
Okay.
Understandable. Okay, no more questions to the board? Mr. Swinton, thank you. Mr. Kincaid,
This ought to be good.
how are you, sir?
Good,
Welcome back.
thank you. As Mr. Swinton stated, that's 99% accurate, and the 1% isn't really worth contesting. So I did build, so the wall was dilapidated, I removed a wall, I built it back up on its existing footing, and built it too high. My understanding was that I needed to lower the wall, but I couldn't lower the wall until I ascertained a permit. Went through that process, which was a bit lengthy, but was able to do so because I made a mistake and did this repair without getting a permit. Then I was told the wall needed to come down, got the permit, took the wall down, and now my second mistake is I didn't have it inspected. I believe if I can, and I tried to get a permit once I received these, but you can't do that once the permit's expired. You need to come here, and now I can go get a permit and call for an inspection in the same day. It is in, to my knowledge, until an inspector tells me differently, it is compliant now. The wall has been cut down, recapped, and ready for inspection.
Yeah, well, we saw pictures of before and after, and it was a good job. It's just unfortunate that, we're back here again and going through it. Hopefully you can get it settled.
This is not an excuse. This is my
Yeah.
fault that it is this way, but I live in Chicago, and a little thing called the worldwide pandemic has not had me down here at all. So I should have handled it differently, but I apologize for that, and would like to do what I suggested, submit for the permit, have it inspected, and see where we're at.
Totally makes sense. Board? It seems strange that you would have to come back in and go through this process and waste time in your day to get a existing permit,
I
but
flew in last
process
evening,
is
and I'm flying out tonight, but I
process
want
is
to, I want to
process.
get this right.
Yeah.
We actually want to do some more improvements into the property and stuff, so I need to put this behind me so that we can get on with some permits of some.
Understandable.
other things.
Thank you. Well,
What's the process to allow them to do that? Just get them to,
for the permitting process?
do we have to make a motion to sort of give them an extension to get the permit?
Oh, absolutely, Mr. Root, you want to?
Hi, I'm Dana Root. I'm the Assistant Building Official for the City of Clearwater. To activate an expired permit, if it hasn't been expired for too long, what he would need to do is just pay a $200 fee, and we can make that active.
And
It doesn't have to
could that
apply
have done
for-
before, could that have done before we're sitting here having this discussion in time today?
Yes,
So he could have done that before even flying down here?
yes.
Were you aware of that, Mr. Kincaid?
No, I was told differently. So.
Okay.
But there are some other items that he's going to have to take care of. When we have work that is done without a permit, the property owner has to go through all the steps like the work was never done. So you build a wall, you know, and you don't have a permit for it. You have to get the plans, get a contractor, apply for the permit, be approved, and all inspections have to pass. So that includes footing, any fill cells that were done. We have slab inspections. So we have to make sure that the work matches the plan. So it's not as simple as paying $200.
Gotcha.
That's to make the permit active.
Makes sense. Okay.
So then what other steps does he need to take then to get it correct?
Just by looking at that, I haven't seen his plans, but he may have to take out some of the concrete if it's in the setback, if it's in the easement. Whatever his approved plans show, that's what he's going to have to do. If you use the existing footing, that's going to have to be noted on his plans.
So it sounds like there was one, it was falling apart and he fixed it. So it sounds like there already was one there, he just.
Right, we haven't seen it.
May I clarify
Yeah.
a little bit of that? So that was part of the process that took so long. I do have the blueprints here that allowed me to get the permits. This gentleman is correct. I'm hoping that if we do have to have a footing inspection because my neighbor is under construction, we can just dig down and look at any point that the inspector points to along the footing. I built this thing beyond what code's going to require, you know, so I put it up. I mean, if this.
And you're in the business of construction, if I remember
It's
correctly?
Chicagoland, yeah,
Yeah,
that's correct.
okay, that's what I recall.
So I overdid the building on it. And we can look at the footing that way, and if we have to do a core slab to show the depth of it or something, we can do whatever the city would require in that regard. I
Thank
would
you.
hope,
Yeah.
rather than tearing it all out to show you that
Yeah, I
stuff.
think it'd be a little ridiculous.
A lot of concrete, okay, thank you, Mr. Root, thank you. The board, do we have any additional questions?
One
for-
more question. The 6 feet, is it measured from the new slab or from the old ground?
It was from the ground, and it was 84 inches was where it was at, and I believe it's at, you know the codes better than I don't.
The wall is classified as a fence, it's on the property line, it would be measured from grade.
Okay. I thought maybe you,
That's noted on these prints here that were approved for the permit.
okay, cool.
Perfect,
I
thank you.
think it makes more sense to do a continuance than to do a motion. I think it makes more sense to do a continuance on this than a motion, because he's working hand in hand with the inspector at this point.
Would he have to fly back in?
Sounds like he's gonna have to either
It's
way.
like whoever's doing the work.
Yeah. You have that ability, board, so I'm,
Just my idea.
why don't we do this? Mr. Kincaid, you have a seat for us one more time. Let's have Mr. Swinton step up. Let us see those recommendations again, and I'll give the board a minute to kind of think on what direction they want to go with this.
Whatever's easiest.
Okay, for 151 Devon, our compliance to be met for the work without permit is to react to the expired permit, schedule, and pass all required inspections. Recommendation for case 77-21, request compliance on or before June 26, 21, or fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violation continues. We are also asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal, equitable remedies available under the law.
I still think a 60-day continuance would make more sense, because then if this happens, and this does look like a little bit of work, and plus getting inspectors out there, engineers out there perhaps, then 30 days might not be
That's what I'm thinking.
sufficient.
It'll take more than 30 days.
And then we're gonna add complications with this if we go ahead and do a motion on it. Just my thoughts.
You're for the board, so you're entitled to make motions as long as the city says it's within our wheelhouse of what you're allowed to do.
I don't have any opposition to that.
Mr. Kincaid, you're working very closely to get this corrected if we give you a continuance.
I'm sorry, I can't hear it.
You're working very closely with the city. If we give you a continuance and don't mark this as a violation, we just give you a 60-day continuance.
Thank you very much.
We have to make a motion for that?
Correct.
So I make a motion for a continuance for 60 days.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So you're all set. So what the board granted you today was 60 additional days. Just moved this case as this never happened today. Have a safe flight back to Chicago. Hopefully you can reactivate that permit and go through the correct steps of getting it approved at the different layers, like Mr. Root said, and we wish you the best on it.
Thank you.
Case 4.20, case 78-21, find respondents Anthony Vitucci and McCarn William Estate at 2317 Nash Street in violation of code for permits, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for your patience and waiting today.
Actually, interesting.
All right. If you don't mind
In
stating
the
your
oddest way possible.
state your name for the record.
Anthony Vitucci.
Vitucci. And Mr. Vitucci, do you admit to the violations today?
Absolutely. I took down the
100%.
garage door before I fell down.
Yeah, no problem.
Took this long. I have the permit ready, the product codes.
Perfect, you're good. So what, the board's gonna make a first motion. We're gonna bring city staff up, let you sit down for a second, and we'll keep this rolling for you.
I
So
move
board,
to,
we-
yeah, I move to find the, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Swayne,
All right,
yes, sir.
again, this is address 2317 Nash Street, case 7821. Again, one violation, enclosed garage door, Community Development Code, Section 4-203.A.1 and Section 47.083, Section 2. I sent out the first note of a violation, was sent out certified in regular mail September 29th of 20, and it received back in October 3rd of 20. Reason we sent out a second notice, obviously, because at that point, Code Board was not being held because of COVID, so we just postponed it and sent out another second notice of violation on April 15th of 21, received it back on April 21st of 21. Notice of hearing was also sent on April 15th, 21, and received on April 21st, 21. This property is located just east of Belcher, kind of south of Drew Street, and sitting right behind the Dayton Andrews car lot there on Gulfster Bay, not too far from SBC there. This is the Google Map January 2019 shot. You can see that the garage door is there. little closer view of that particular garage door. And this is the state that is in it, current state is in now. This picture was taken February 2nd of '21. And just a few more shots here of that particular door. And this was taken yesterday, and it's still in the same current state as in February. That's where we're at.
And so for clarification, to take down an existing garage door, you would need a permit?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Anything on the exterior?
And then, and then an inspection at the end of it, okay.
Right.
And the gentleman knows that now, it sounds like, so we're probably good, okay. What's your recommendation?
To obtain required building permits and schedule and pass all required inspections. The recommendation for case 7821, work without a permit, requesting compliance owner before June 26, for a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violation continues to exist. We're also asking the board to authorize the following after 3 months from the recordation date of such lien. If the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
Perfect, thank you, sir. Any questions for him? Mr. Vitucci, will you step up, please? Thank you. So do you understand what's needed to be done to
Absolutely.
rectify this?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you gonna have any issue with the 30 days that the city's recommending?
None whatsoever. I just got my second shot about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, congratulations.
I wasn't doing anything before then,
Okay.
hence maybe paranoia during this the whole time. Yeah.
Okay, so no issue?
Yeah,
with
no,
the
there's no
30
issues. It's
Okay,
all-
perfect.
It's all good.
All right, we'll take care of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 26th. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. It looks like the end of new business. Item 5, unfinished, accept the affidavits of non-compliance. Are you here for any case, ma'am? Okay, I didn't want you to just sit there and we're skipping you, and, sorry. So we can probably accept 5.1 through 5.5 altogether?
I move to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed. Do you want me to read them?
No,
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda 5.5, accept the affidavits of non-compliance, case 3621, Jardin and Vyers, Inc. at 909 Beckett Street for unsafe building.
I move to accept the affidavits of non-compliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Is there any other board items?
Yeah, I did want to, Matthew Smith, City Attorney's Office, I did want to introduce Mr. Matthew Middich. He's going to be your new attorney. He just started with the City Attorney's Office this month, and he's been assigned to Code Enforcement and Planning, and so next month you'll probably just be seeing him.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
And you checked the prerequisite of having the first name Matthew, so you had the job right away.
Good to go.
Yeah, we had to sort that out. This is Matthew, and I'm Matt.
Gotcha. Just
Just
kidding.
so
Well,
we know.
All right.
welcome to the team, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for direction and
You're
the
welcome.
years of fun we had with you in here.
Yes, thank you.
That's it? Enough fun for one day? Thank you, everybody. Meeting's adjourned.